Hey there guys, I'm Will and welcome to FP1. Now some interesting news coming out of the paddock today as Romain Grosjean has been kept alongside Kevin Magnussen at Haas for 2020. This of course casts huge doubts over Nico Hulkenberg's career, with Haas seen to be his only option left in Formula 1. I just feel that Haas have made the wrong decision here. Before we get into my reasons why for that though, let's just see what the team and Grosjean himself have said, with Gunther Steiner firstly being quoted as saying, "Experience and the need for it has been one of the cornerstones of Haas F1 team, and with Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen racing for the team in 2020, we continue to have a driver lineup that offers us a solid platform to continue our growth." Meanwhile, Romain Grosjean has been quoted as saying, "I've always stated it was my desire to remain with Haas and keep building on the team's accomplishments. Having been here since the very beginning and seen the work of both Gene Haas and Gunther Steiner put into the team to make it competitive, I'm naturally very happy to continue to be a part of that. I'm looking forward to working with Kevin and the whole team and continuing our journey together." Working with Kevin. Okay, mate. Sure you do. So let's see if we can put a few numbers on Grosjean's start to the 2019 season then. So he's currently 17th in the championship with just 8 points in comparison to Kevin Magnussen lying one place above and 16th, but 10 more points than him. Now, let's look at the race and quali. Now, it's firstly important to mention that Grosjean failed to finish 6 times to Magnussen's 2, but the race and qualifying comparisons are actually closer than you might think. So Magnussen does edge Grosjean in both 7-6 in the races and 8-6 in qualifying. But as I said, with 6 DNFs and they being 10 points behind, that's not awful. I mean, it's not brilliant, but it is not awful at all. And it is also important to mention that those DNFs, not just for Grosjean but Magnussen too, I guess, have not always been driver caused, if that makes sense. Obviously, you had the wheel gun failure in Australia, for example, putting Grosjean out of a pretty good position there. Meanwhile, Magnussen's lost out of good positions at, say, the Italian Grand Prix. But if we think about it, though, Grosjean has been making more errors. Now, I'm not saying that all the clashes with his teammate have been his fault, but just let's take you back to first practice at the British Grand Prix, where he didn't even make it out of the pit lane before losing his front wing at the start of the weekend. I just feel like it's those sort of mistakes and those sort of crashes and that sort of money that he's effectively throwing away that just make this the wrong decision. And also the fact, of course, that him and Magnussen don't particularly get along. And I think it all came to a head at the German Grand Prix, didn't it? When, I can't remember which one it was, came in and said, "Look, we don't want this guy racing in the team. Come on, do something about him." I want to say that was Grosjean about Magnussen, but I might be wrong. It might be the other way around. Either way, Magnussen was guaranteed to be staying on. He had a contract going into 2020 anyway. Grosjean was the big doubt. And yeah, I'm just on the fence about this. I feel like this is obviously the safe option. They know what Grosjean can do. Meanwhile, with someone like Hulkenberg, then not so sure how good he would perform in that Haas car. But yeah, it's difficult. If I were Haas right now, I think this would probably be the perfect time for a big change. We've just lost Rich Energy as a title sponsor, and we need something big and new just to flash in front of potential new sponsors, potential new investors. And signing on a big money driver like Hulkenberg, who has one pole position under his belt, a lot of people forget that. And okay, he hasn't had a podium in Formula 1 yet, and he's started the most races without having a podium finish, but that does not make him a bad driver in any way, shape or form. Yeah, okay, he's lost out to Daniel Ricciardo this year, but he's not been thrashed by him, and we all know how good Danny Rick is. So I just feel like signing Hulkenberg on would have been a really good money move for Haas, not just for the actual performance front. We've already seen Renault this year take a bit of a risk and sign Esteban Ocon to replace Nico Hulkenberg in the first place, which of course costed so much doubt over Grosjean's seat to begin with. And they stated their reasoning for that was, look, we're struggling this year, we need to have some sort of change, and we're not going to get rid of Danny Rick because we're paying him $50 million a year and he's got another year in his contract anyway and not doing a bad job. So Hulkenberg is sadly the one to go. I kind of feel like Haas had to do the same thing here and just say, right, we need to have a change now. Let's get rid of Grosjean, bring someone fresh, bring someone new, and get some new insight into the team and see where we can take it into 2020. And of course, 2021 is going to be a big, big year. Brand new regulations. Haas could be anywhere. Haas could be at the bottom of the grid. They could be fighting for wins if they get something right. Look at teams like Williams or Mercedes in 2014 where they shot to the front of the grid just because they've got the regulations the right way around. Now, if they sign someone like Hulkenberg in now, or maybe even a new driver, and just sort of let them settle into the year in 2020, 2021, got a good solid driver lineup that's just ready to go into it for a brand new season, a brand new regulation change. And bringing in, instead of just bringing someone in at the start of 2021 where they're going to have to take a while to get used to that car. We see it, especially this year, drivers like Daniel Ricciardo and maybe more, prominently Pierre Gasly struggle with a brand new car because they're obviously so different to what they've raced in before. I just feel like Haas have missed out an opportunity here. So then with Nico Hulkenberg, where can he now go? And there's only really 2 spots on the grid, and that's Alfa Romeo replacing Giovinazzi, or racing alongside Max Verstappen at Red Bull is a bit of an outside bet. Now let's just discuss each of these 2 teams separately. Alfa Romeo, normally if Alfa had fully control over both of their seats, then I would say, this is a very good option. I mean, Giovinazzi's done pretty well in the last couple of races, bar his crash at the end of the Belgian Grand Prix. He wasn't a good position before that. But overall, over the course of the season, he's scored something like 3 points to Raikkonen's, 31, I think? Yeah, and on normal circumstances, I'd be like, right, Giovinazzi, off you go, mate. But what a lot of people need to remember is that Ferrari control that second seat. They can put whoever they want in there. And at the moment, I think Giovinazzi will keep that seat next year solely because he's the only Ferrari junior that's maybe ready for an F1 chance. And I say ready very, very lightly. So unless Ferrari decide to back down for that 1 year, I don't think I can see Hulkenberg moving into that team. And even if he does, it would probably only be for maybe 1 year. Or if Raikkonen decides to retire at the end of 2020 and not go into 2021, maybe he'll be able to keep that seat at Alfa. We don't know. But I think it is a bit of a risk, especially if I think we'll just end up finding him in the same position next year around and maybe having even less options to go to. Now, as I said, the other option is Red Bull, and that solely depends on Alex Albon. Now, Red Bull is a massive risk, and not just because he has to wait for that F1 chance, and they're not going to make a decision until the end of the season. They even said when they signed Albon, they're going to evaluate him for the 9 races and then make a decision. For all we know, they could end up going for Danny Kvyat. They could bring Pierre Gasly back. They probably won't, but he's still in the frame. And yeah, although they have said that they would go to an outside driver, and yeah, Hulkenberg is probably the top of their list if they do decide to do that, I just have a feeling that Albon will do just enough to get that seat for another year. And it's not been a particularly fantastic start for Albon. Like it's not been an awful start. It's not been a Gasly start, but it's not been something to scream and shout about. But I do think it will be enough. He is, of course, getting closer and closer to Max. And I think we still need to. Yeah, I think it's going to be Singapore will be the first chance that we can actually see where he is and where he's going and how close he actually is to Max Verstappen. Because of course, if you think Belgium, he was having a grid penalty. In the Italian Grand Prix, it was Max with the grid penalty. So we're still really yet to see where those two drivers can really line up against each other. But at the moment, I just feel like it's a big risk. And also, if he's waiting that long, that then pretty much surrenders any chance of him finding a seat somewhere like Formula E, which could be his next best bet if he wanted to go there. Obviously, there's quite a few seats up for grabs at the moment. But come November, December, when Red Bull finally make that decision, we've done Formula E testing, and we'll be a few weeks away from the first race. So it's very unlikely that he'll be able to secure a drive that quickly. So I just worry for Hulkenberg, and I have a feeling that this now could be his last year in Formula 1. Looking around the rest of the grid, Williams, I mean, he's driven for Williams before, back in his rookie season in 2010, but I have a feeling they're going to sign Latifi over Kubica. I mean, if Latifi is an awful Formula 2, ends of the Formula 2 season, then perhaps he's an option there. But I just have a feeling they've been bigging Latifi up for a while, just subtly behind the scenes, getting him in there for those FP1 sessions. And yeah, it's not looking particularly great for Nico Hulkenberg at the moment. But this is where I want you guys to come in, so let me know down in the comments below where you think Hulkenberg will end up next year. If not in Formula 1, where? WEC, World Rallycross, I don't know, could be anywhere. He could honestly go anywhere. Formula E, there's so many different options for him. Extreme E, you never know. You never know what you might do. But yeah, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll try to get back to as many of you as I can. And of course, don't forget to like, comment, and of course, subscribe for weekly Formula 1 content. But yeah, that's all from me, and I will see you guys in the next one.